Hi, everyone. I am Rebecca Gilstrap. Welcome to Afternoon Coffee with Legrand. We appreciate you joining us today. Today we have a fun discussion with Paul Mott. Belinda, do we have Paul's? There we go. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Cheers to your coffee. Paul is the Global Technical Product Manager. He has been with Raritan. He's been with Legrand for 10 years, working within the IT space and the AV space, and has just been a wealth of knowledge and innovation and bringing a fun approach to product management and the products and how we serve our customers. So Paul, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate
Excited to be here.
it.
Absolutely.
Then we also have with us Jason Finnegan. Jason Finnegan has also been with the organization. He's been with Legrand for 9 years. Hey, Jason.
Hey, Rebecca. Good afternoon.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us for some coffee.
Yes.
We appreciate it. Jason has a background in marketing and working with customers and taking all of that and applying it to his role as product manager for our copper connectivity product line. So Jason, again, thanks for joining us and bringing your wealth of knowledge to this afternoon coffee session. So to get
this
it
is
started,
what gets my blood flowing, talking edge, talking connectivity.
Caffeine and copper.
Thanks for having me.
Caffeine and copper, right, Jason?
That's right. Can't beat it.
That's good. All right, so I am gonna show my screen here. Give me 1 second. All right, so today we're going to talk about all of the experience that the three of us have had and that the organization has had. We have a rich and steeped history within the data center space and taking our products and, you know, connecting the data center, powering the data center, right? We understand mission critical data centers probably better than anyone. We understand them really well. And so one of the things that we have done is we have looked at the evolution of that data center architecture and how it's evolving into different spaces, right? So it's not just that core data center that we know and love, but it's evolving and moving out to the edge. So with that, we're going to talk about this beautiful picture here. This is something that we did for Cisco Live. So we actually pulled together this picture right here in the middle. On the far side, you have the core network that's supporting all of essentially the trade show, and it's the core data center doing that. But then we also have this edge application. So Paul and Jason, both of you were a part of this awesome project and helping solve a problem, right? Which was they had 3850s that were going to be all over the trade show floor. And they said, hey, you know, help. We want to actually protect this gear and make sure that nobody's getting into it. And so, Paul, talk to me about this solution. You were, again, part of that team that helped develop this and say, hey, let's take it to the next step. Let's not just protect it, but let's turn this into a really cool showcase opportunity. So tell me about this. Tell me about what we're seeing in this picture, and tell me about the ideas that were floating in your head and how we came to the solution of this simplified edge.
Sure thing. So Cisco had a kind of pretty specific set of requirements, you know, when it came to their trade show and what they wanted to do with a lot of their network equipment, like you mentioned. So really, what we did is we took a look at across Legrand, and in particular in the data center space. We took a look at the products that we could potentially use here to meet those requirements, and really, after some back and forth, some conversations with Cisco, really where we landed on was a wall mount cabinet with some intelligent power distribution inside of it, a electronic door lock, and then a whole host of copper connectivity, again, to connect all those network switches up and make sure that all of the booths and that the actual whole trade show, the network was super stable, super reliable, and then also so that they could manage these things a little bit easier, right? We included the intelligent power distribution, the door locks, so that really gave them, kind of a next level of really trade show network management that, and infrastructure management that they really didn't have before. And if you've ever been to a trade show, sometimes you'll see, like, don't look behind the black curtain, right? Because you'll see just a mess of wires, and sometimes there's a switch hanging off of a piece of drywall or something. So we really did bring, a total game changer for them and their, their network infrastructure and housing it and connecting it all up with this wall mount edge application.
That's great. And I don't even think that they were expecting it. I saw people literally taking selfies. I mean, did you ever?
They thought it was a product. They really thought it was a product.
Did you ever think that people would be, customers or network engineers would be taking selfies with, a 3850 and, a wall mount and this awesome HDMI connectivity and your incredible PDUs?
That's right.
Well, awesome. Thanks for talking a little bit about that. We'll get into this some more. So Jason, you were part of that team as well, and talk to me about, the implications of this, right? So I think it's a perfect example of, right? So they were focused on the core. They needed an edge solution, right? We rose to the occasion, to make that happen and to showcase that for them. Talk to me about the architecture and this trend and the disaggregation, right, of these architectures, and why is this happening, right? Why do we have to have edge locations, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Rebecca. So, to start, when we talk about edge, we're really talking about bringing the data processing closer to the endpoint. So I know there's a lot of different definitions of edge out there that you might hear, and there's a lot of buzzwords: Internet of Things, connected world, digital cities, digital ceilings, but all of this is really driving what we call edge infrastructure, and that's really bringing the processing closer to the devices that are running a space. So, one thing we saw specifically with the Cisco show, and I think it's true for a lot of the applications we're seeing for edge compute, is that it's a dynamic space, right? You have people interacting in a space where you have visible network infrastructure. It's not, your typical square rectangular data center where you can calculate your square footage in the white space, exactly how many cabinets are going in each row, or your traditional star topology in a building network where you have 100 meters to connect your access points and all your devices. It's a bit more dynamic, and a lot of the spaces we're seeing in edge computing are a bit more dynamic. So we're having to kind of adapt the way we design our connectivity and our systems and our solutions to work together to deploy quickly and design to be in these spaces, so we can again bring that processing closer, so we can lower latency.
Yeah. So elaborate that on for a second, like from an actual design perspective of, like, just, for example, like the distance limitations that individuals are facing and the applications and performance, right, that our customers are looking, right, as they're bringing these digital transformation projects to fruition and saying, okay, like, I want to take it to theory, I need to actually apply it in my environment, right? What are some of those things that they're facing?
Yeah. So the distance limitation is a huge issue. You're also seeing a lot more density on the network. So with Cisco in particular, we're seeing people get away from your traditional IDF, where it's a couple floor standing racks in a telecom room, and we're starting to bring that out into the space and decentralize our architecture, because we don't always have the opportunity to have a hidden IDF or a telecom closet within 100 meters of all the devices we're connecting. So in particular, in the example that Rebecca and Paul talked to start out, we have to design the wall mount cabinets and the connectivity and the power, the PDUs, the UPS, the door locks. We have to think about security, product compatibility, how all these parts and pieces go together, because again, we're changing from that centralized architecture to really a decentralized approach, and bringing that active equipment, in this case a Cisco 3850 switch, out into a space where you have occupants.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate that. I should have said this earlier in the call, but we actually have a Q&A that's happening live. So if you have questions that you want to ask the panel, right, Jason or Paul or myself, feel free, while we're having this dialogue going on, feel free to type in those questions. And again, we'll be hitting those topics where we can, and if we can't get to them, we'll certainly have a follow-up round and follow up with those questions. But our intent is, again, to have this great dialogue and then also answer your questions. So great, awesome. So with that, Paul, Jason's talking about the connectivity and talking about, right, making sure that we've got uptime, right? On the other hand, when we think about it from a power perspective, right, we want that power pipe and ping that we've had in the data center, and we want to extend it right to the edge because we're seeing that these environments are becoming more and more critical. So obviously in the Cisco Live application, we'd have a lot of very upset, IT managers and network managers if the Cisco, right, wireless network was down during the show. So mission critical. So how are we applying that from a power perspective? Talk to me about the other applications and value that power is bringing, specifically intelligent PDUs are bringing to this environment.
Yeah, sure. So, like we've been saying, the edge is becoming, just as critical as kind of the core data center. And we're deploying, essentially the same type of equipment. So why wouldn't you deploy the same type of intelligent power that you would use in a data center as well? And it makes a ton of sense, because the value that you can get out of intelligent PDU for doing things like environmental monitoring, security, right? We talked a little bit about electronic door locks. That gets even more valuable when you're talking about the edge, because those types of applications are going to come up a lot more frequently, and it may even be required to have, more stringent environmental monitoring, because you might not have the same type of, air handling and HVAC type of equipment at the edge that you do in the data center. And then in some edge spaces, it may not be in a fully protected, fully secured environment. So you may want to do things like deploy sensors at the actual cabinet to see, if someone's going in and out of a cabinet, and then also electronic card readers and door locks that can be connected right back up to the intelligent PDU. So you can do things like audit and monitor who gets in, and keep any of the any nefarious actors out, right? Especially if you may have an edge application that might be a little bit more exposed. Maybe it doesn't, have multiple layers of security like a data center, but maybe it's behind a single closet door, and it can be accessed by multiple people. So, like I said, there's lots of different ways that we can continue to leverage some of the product, like intelligent PDUs that we use in the data center, for the edge as well. And again, make sure that the end users, we can meet all the requirements and keep that edge environment up and running and stable, just like we do with their core data centers.
Awesome. So tell me about a couple of the interesting things that people are doing with sensors, right? So you talked about sensors, and you talked about door locks, and this overarching theme of security. And I get a little excited when we start talking about security and compliance and what you can do around that. But talk to us about the intelligence and the additional layers of security. Give us a couple examples of what sensors can do and door locks, right,
Sure.
can do.
Sure, absolutely. So our door lock, our smart lock products, essentially give the end user the ability to use all of their standard security type cards and then bolt on wherever they need to cabinet access control without really having to rely on like a traditional type of security infrastructure, right? Because that's another thing that is probably not always going to exist at the edge, is the typical data center security infrastructure. Since we rely on only essentially the PDU and a network drop, it simplifies the whole setup and again allows a user to deploy a whole number of different sensors and a whole number of different devices without having to use like separate disparate systems. We can do one intelligent PDU, and with that intelligent PDU from either Raritan or Servertech or Legrand, you effectively get an environmental monitoring system. You get a decentralized cabinet security system and a whole bunch of other things as well that we certainly can't talk about in this call, so we don't have enough time, but maybe in a future discussion.
Well, we know you're working on some good stuff. One of the I would say most compelling applications that I've heard from customers, with what you've done with the intelligent door handles and with the sensors, is vendor management, right? So as we think about a data center, and I think about walking into a data center and you have man traps and security guards and bollards, right? There's all these things that are going to keep, right, that hardware and that gear secure. And part of that is also vendor management, right? You have sign in, sign out, right? You have
Absolutely.
biometrics, you have card access. So all of these things, when I think about it applied to the edge, again, that compelling, a major compelling application is vendor management. So essentially being able to have your vendors, right, your support technicians having a card access card, and you have log history, right, of them coming and going. And even you have pointed out in the past, even, hey, did they close the door? Right?
Exactly.
And I also think about it in the context of, right, when you have a centralized data center, you have maybe a handful of those data centers that you're managing. But when we start going out to the edge, some of our customers literally have thousands of locations that they're having to manage. And I feel the pain, the burden, for our customers in that management. Talk to us about how we're making that easier through monitoring and management.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it again goes back to the intelligent platform, being able to link everything together and communicate to, whether or not it's a DSIM platform, a security platform, something that's already existing, right? The whole idea is to make the experience easy to deploy, easy to use, and requires little maintenance. Because especially at the edge, right, it can get expensive if you have to go out and send a technician to fix something and who knows where. So yeah, it really comes back to the intelligent platform that we use, that really enables all the feature functionality like the smart lock system that we have.
Awesome, thank you. So Jason, with that, Paul is talking about some of the functionality within those spaces and, the vendor management, the intelligence, the monitoring, and everything that we're able to provide, through that physical, right, intelligent PDU and those sensors and the door lock. Talk to me about connectivity. Talk to me about some of the applications, right? It's been awesome because we've been at the forefront with a lot of the edge architectures and the smart buildings. Talk to me about some of the stuff that you have been solving for in the applications, right? Examples of the applications that our customers are doing with digital transformation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the driver to a lot of these applications is really PoE, or power over Ethernet. Now with IEEE giving you the 90 watts and 10 gigs on copper, we're seeing the connectivity infrastructure power and provide data to these devices. So, we've worked with, well, there's one customer in particular down in Fort Worth, Texas. He's got this guy, Farouk Aslam. He's the owner and developer of Sinclair Hotel. It's a Marriott autograph collection. And he is trying to use zero AC power in his hotel. He's trying to do absolutely everything over DC or PoE or DC packet switching. Everything from the lights to the mini fridge to the hair dryers to the TVs and the temperature control for the shower to really improve his customer's experience. So with all of these critical applications or devices on the network, and with the level of power we have, we really have to look at how we're designing our connectivity to withstand some of the stressors that power puts onto the connectivity infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. So talk to us about that, right? So what are some of the design decisions that customers need to be looking at? I pulled up, I was, we were just showing a minute ago, right? This is the rooftop of the hotel, and again, to Jason's point, doing some really, really cool stuff in he has some historic hotels and brand new hotels, and just creating experiences with technology and with PoE, and really pushing the boundaries from a power perspective. Talk to us, Jason, about some of the effects, right? I'm gonna pull up this picture that you sent over. Talk to us about the effects of performance and design decisions. What are we looking at right here? Tell us about this picture.
Yeah, so when I'm out there talking to customers, there's this perception that a jack's a jack, a patch cord's a patch cord, and hey, I understand it, but they are not all built the same. So what we're looking at here is actually a contact inside of an RJ45 jack that has gone through a couple of mating and unmating cycles with active PoE over the line. So anytime you have PoE, as soon as your device and your power source equipment makes that connection, anytime you break that link, you're always going to have an electrical arc. It's inevitable. It doesn't matter whose connectivity products you're using. And here in our lab in New London, Connecticut, you can see what that arcing erosion can actually do to the jack. So when we're thinking about the investments we're making in our infrastructure, we need uptime. We want to get the most out of that network, and things like this arcing erosion can cause irreparable damage where you're going in and having to pull out your connectivity products and replace them. So we do a couple things to,
right? So these are actually like burn marks. These are arc marks, right, on the connectivity.
That's right. So one thing you'll find, and one thing we do with all our connectivity, really, most of the premium connectivity manufacturers out there are going to put gold plating on their jack contacts, and that's just going to make them a little bit more robust. Something else that we have patents around is the contact design. So a lot of the cheaper offshore jacks have kind of a 45-degree inclined plane contact design. So you think about a patch cord inside a jack, that erosion's happening where that connection is made. We design ours so where that last point of metal on metal contact and where that nasty arcing erosion happens, it's away from the critical contact area.
Yeah, awesome. Gold plated connectivity.
Gold plated.
No, I appreciate you explaining that, because that is one of the technical aspects that I think gets lost sometimes. And when people are looking, especially at high powered applications, right? When we see the data that's going to be hitting the WAPs, when we've seen it with voice over IP, right? Patch cord selection actually does make a difference, right? And you want to make sure that you have a quality tested manufacturer. And to Jason's point, right, that you're avoiding that, especially as you get closer to your network gear, right? Obviously, you do not want that arcing happening near your gear. So it's expensive. We want to protect it, keep it up, keep it running, keep that uptime going. So, we have a couple of minutes left, and Paul, I wanted to jump over to you, and you have been mentioning the openness, right? And you had talked about platforms, security platforms, DSIM platforms, right? So, we have partnerships and we work, right, with different platforms. Talk to me about, right, some of that functionality that we have and that stance that I would say that we take from a PDU and the underlying architecture to support all of this technology. What's our stance on that? How do we make that happen?
So really we see ourselves as as capable of really working with anyone. We try to keep our platforms open and usable. We have a software, for instance, on the Raritan and ServerTech branded PDU products. We have software development kits and APIs for developers or for end users to to build compatibility with our products. So again, they don't have to go out and buy a brand new system or select only specific piece of software. Our goal is really to make it universally adoptable to really whatever the end user needs, and that goes for the data center and also the edge as well, because there are a whole host of other types of systems and platforms outside of the data center that may be used at the edge, right? We start thinking about things like building management systems, and they may be more of the type of monitoring platform or system that somebody might choose versus like a DSIM platform, which may be in like the core data center. But really, the point is that we like to keep things open. We like partnerships. We'll work with everyone. We have a great support team. We have a great engineering team, and we're always striving to number one, make sure it works for you when you invest a lot of money in our products, especially our intelligent product. We want to make sure that it works 100%, no matter what type of environment you're putting in, whether it's a DSIM platform in your core data center, or it might be a building management system or some other type of homegrown tool that you might have out at the edge. We try to support as many as we can. And like I said, we always maintain that open and willingness to work with really anybody.
Love it, Paul. Thank you for sharing that. So we'll open it up for questions. We got a couple of minutes here. I think we had a specific question about the jack that we were just showing. If we want to type that in. See, I'm just looking at the questions that we've got going on. While we're doing that, guys, where's our NFL pride, our allegiances? We're all working from home, and I want to say, like, I thought we were going to represent a little bit more.
Well, you see mine behind me. Paul's gonna bring back some bad memories of 2008 and Manning and helmet pitches.
I lost my Giants hat. I lost my Giants hat, or else I'd have to make a Patriots comment. Sorry, Jason.
Yeah, it's all right. You're a Giants fan, you guys have earned Patriots comments.
Jason's representing in the background with his Brady with his Brady jersey. So all right, so I'm seeing that we have questions, but the questions are not popping up. Give me 1 second. So okay, so question. Oh, so we've got a question about Tampa. I think that one's posed at you, Jason, and you're.
Yeah. Let's see.
He doesn't want to talk about it.
I don't. I was telling Rebecca and Paul yesterday that jersey it's been sitting in a closet for 10 years, and my birthday was in February. My father got it framed for me for my birthday, and it went on the wall for about 2 weeks before Brady announced his decision to go to Tampa. So I haven't heard the end of it since. I got my little 15 minutes of glory before it got ripped out from under me.
Yeah. Wow. Apologies on your loss, Jason. We feel for you. I don't think Paul and I are really that empathetic for.
No one feels for themselves. That's the first time I've ever heard we feel for you too. From a non-Patriots fan.
I see it, but I'm from Philadelphia, so like nobody ever feels bad for Philadelphia. You just have to have like the tough skin to get through it. So, anyways, so again, we had a question about the jack. I can answer that. So that was performance testing, right? So we were actually showing you what can happen to connectivity, right? What the effects of arcing are on that. So, you know, we're not wanting to like throw out names or anything like that, but one of the big things that Jason and the connectivity engineering team do is just tons and tons and tons of performance testing so that the products that they are put out there by Legrand, right, are quality and meet the highest performance standards so that you don't run into those issues. And also we have incredible sales engineers that help with the design so that you can talk about, you know, what you're trying to accomplish with your applications and the parameters that you're trying to meet. So just throwing that out to answer that question.
And Rebecca, I'll add to that. I'll say, just talk to your manufacturer. Any reputable manufacturer is going to have a performance warranty, system warranty that they'll offer. We beat the heck out of these things in the lab so we can understand under any circumstance, in any environment, what is going to be the impact on the physical infrastructure. So, you know, these are expensive devices going on in the network. So make sure the techs are doing the field testing, talk to the manufacturer about system warranties, and we'll make sure that that type of issue is avoided in the field.
Awesome. And with that, Jason and Paul, that was the alarm. That was the fire station saying it's time to wrap it. You guys were awesome. We really appreciate you sharing all of your experience and knowledge, and you know, sharing a cup of coffee with us today. Thanks to everybody on the line. Again, feel free to ask more questions, reach out to us via LinkedIn, via our emails, whatever. You know, we're there for you, and we want to support your digital transformation projects, and we love showing some of the successes that are out there and empowering people to make it happen. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye all.
Bye, guys.